Nice to see you, Bill. I'm glad you came in. I heard that you're having some pain
Yeah.
on the tooth at the bottom. What's been happening?
Yeah, I have. I came in here because I have some aching back here in my mouth, and I don't know what to do with it.
Yeah, well, it's no wonder that you're having pain on the left side when you're biting down, because you have a tooth on the bottom that's fractured. I can see that it's cracked
You can.
pretty badly, so it's no wonder you're having quite a bit of pain. So
Okay.
obviously we want to do something about that. And one option is that we could keep your tooth by doing a root canal and then restore the tooth with a crown to seal it and try to keep it strong. Okay?
Okay. My wife has had a root canal. She's had one or two over the years, and I learned from her experience that it's not fun.
Okay.
And that's her experience anyway.
Yeah.
And it's surgery and all that. And I don't think I've ever had anything like that before.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. According to your x-rays, you've never had a root canal before, so this would be new.
Okay.
But it would be the option that would be available so that we could keep your tooth. So
Okay.
we would restore the tooth and seal it
Okay.
to try to preserve it.
Okay, so that's I'm learning from you what a root canal is, because I don't about this tooth is it connected to the bottom or top or whatever.
Yeah,
It's-
yeah, on the
obviously
bottom.
it's bigger than just a cavity in my front tooth or something.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And you don't have a cavity. You have one of your teeth is actually cracked.
Oh.
So that's a problem. That's why you're having so much pain.
Oh,
and that's
all right.
obviously why we want to do something about it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So what was your bad experience with the root canal? Your wife, she had a root canal and it
Yeah,
wasn't.
my wife. She. I don't know. I don't say she had a bad experience, but there's just. I remember talking about they do some surgery in there and a lot of that. I guess a lot of anesthesias or whatever. Sorry about my squeak here. And I don't know. She just didn't. She would not like to do it again.
Well, Bill, based on your wife's experience, you know, there are some other options if you're not inclined to have a root canal. And you know, it's important to me that you understand what your options are, why we need to do something about the fracture, and the pros and cons of each approach. Okay? So why don't I tell you a little bit more about why we need to
Yeah,
fix the
okay.
crack, okay?
Okay.
So if we don't do anything to fix the fracture, you're gonna continue to have pain. That pain could get worse, and the crack could worsen too.
Okay.
And if the crack worsens, we're not going to be able to preserve it or restore that tooth anymore, which means we'd have to pull the tooth.
Okay. Yeah.
So you tell me, why do we need to treat this now?
Why do we need to treat it now?
Why do we need to do something
Okay.
about your cracked tooth?
Well, from what I think I'm learning from you, but I was trying to think about everything else around it when you were telling me about it. So you're wondering why I'm.
Let me say it again.
Yes, please.
You're in a lot of pain, you know, when you
Yeah.
bite down.
Okay.
And if we don't do something about the cracked tooth, it's going to get worse.
Okay.
Your pain's going to get worse and the crack is going to get worse.
Okay.
And when the crack gets worse, we're not going to be able to restore that anymore with a root canal and a crown. So we'd have to pull your tooth.
Pull my tooth.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So why do we need to do something to treat the crack?
Well, I guess. Why are we doing something? I still don't know. I mean,
Yeah.
how to get at it, and it's just more than other things I've had apparently. And you're digging down into the lower jaw.
Right.
And I've seen my wife, and now before or after whatever. That's the truth of that. And she does not enjoy doing it at all, and she's
Right.
happy when I'm.
No one wants a root canal, do they?
No one. Yeah, well, I was going to say, to my knowledge, no one wants to have a root canal.
But
and
if
I've
we
been very
don't,
lucky.
yeah. But unfortunately, because your tooth is cracked, we do have to do something.
Okay.
So let me lay out some other options. Okay.
Okay.
Option number one, we do the root canal and a crown. Option number two, we can just pull the tooth and I can make a partial denture for you. That's something that you could remove, take in and out. Or option number 3, we can pull the tooth and put an implant in. Okay? But each approach has advantages and disadvantages. Okay? So if we do the root canal in the crown, you know, that's a good solution. It would help your pain. But we may have to involve a specialist, which can be a little bit more expensive. And there's a chance that after the procedure, your tooth would be a little weaker from the procedure. And in the long run, it could crack again, and then we would have to pull it most likely. Okay. So to avoid that, we could just pull the tooth and make that removable denture for you. Okay, that's a pretty you know, quick process and a little less expensive. The challenge is that some people don't find that removable denture as comfortable, and it catches food, so you know, you'd have to clean that pretty regularly. So if you didn't like that, we could instead, after pulling the tooth, put an implant in, which is a great long-term solution. But you know, that takes a little bit more time and is more expensive. Yeah. So tell me, what are some of the risks or the disadvantages of a root canal? What could happen with a root canal?
Yeah. You said it a lot.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to think all the time about what my wife said about hers. And she talked mostly about pain.
Right.
And yet I'm quite confident that you wouldn't be in this business if you were offering it to me.
Well, I can't promise it would be painless, but you're right. This is kind of a lot to keep track of, isn't it? You know, all these different options and the risks and benefit. You know, Bill, one thing I think that would help us make the best decision for you is involving your wife in a conversation. You know, if the three of us sat down together, I could go through some of the options with her as well, and we could get her input, answer her questions, and then I think the three of us could come to a consensus about it. Would that be okay?
Yeah, fine. She's very smart and she listens well. And in anything I do with medical things or whatever, she's happy to come along.
Is she here with you today?
Yes, she is. She's in the office right now.
Okay, great. Well, why don't we go to the waiting room now, and we'll find your wife, and then we can talk for a little bit more in the office.
Okay.
Sound reasonable?
I think that's fine. Yeah.
Okay, great. So now I think you can understand why we need to do something about the fracture, given that it's causing you so much pain. So we have 3 different options, and I want to make sure we talk about all those options, the pros and the cons, so that you're making the choice that's best for you. Okay? So the first option is that we can do a root canal and then restore the tooth with a crown to keep it strong. So the advantage to that is it's a pretty straightforward procedure. It would take care of the crack and the pain, but we would have to involve a specialist probably, which means that it's a little bit more costly. And there is some chance that in the procedure, the tooth would be a little bit weaker, so in the long run, there's the possibility that it could fracture again and that we'd have to remove it. Another option is that we can pull the tooth, remove it. That obviously creates a gap, and we want to fill that gap, because over time other teeth can start to move in, which increases the risk of cavities and gum problems. So if we remove the tooth, we can make a partial denture, which Bill could remove and clean. That's a very good option, straightforward, a little bit less expensive. The disadvantage, of course, is having to take something in and out to clean it pretty regularly. And some people think it feels a little less comfortable. Okay? So in lieu of that, we could do an implant. And of course, that's a good long-term solution, but takes about 6 months from start to finish and is a little bit of a more costly option. Okay? So we have different approaches that we can take, and I'm curious about what you think you'd like to move forward with. Bill, what is your thought about it?
I think that you've settled with us, me anyway. The money issue is not the biggest part of the issue, and so we're covered insurance-wise, and whatever we do. The other things I don't know. Sarah could tell you more about that than I could, about what I do well with and don't.
Sure.
And I would be interested myself in how she would respond to that.
I'm interested in your thoughts too, Sarah. What do you think?
Well, I don't think the removable tooth would be a good idea
Okay.
at this point. So I guess it would be either the root canal or the implant.
Okay.
Do you have a suggestion?
Well, the good thing is that we've caught the crack pretty early. It's a pretty small fracture at this point. So I think that a root canal and a crown would resolve the issue, help address the pain right away, and it would be a good reasonable solution. The implant is also a good solution. It's just more expensive, and again, it would take 6 months before we were all done with that.
Mm-hmm.
I think the root canal sounds like a good plan.
It does. Yeah.
Okay.
Well, you would know because you've had them.
So are you in agreement, Bill, that we'll do the root canal and the crown?
I can't find any reason to not. Sarah knows about what a root canal is, and I don't. And she's had it. I haven't. And I just know she knows how I deal with pain, and know her not very well. And so I tend to, I think, put it off, especially with your opinion.
Yeah.
If you see no other reason for doing it, for not doing it, let me know.
Well, I think this is a good decision, and maybe what we can do is we can schedule an appointment to get it started as early as next week or whatever is most convenient for you. And if between now and then you change your mind or you want to review options again, we of course can do that. Does that sound reasonable?
For me, it would be. I just like a
Okay.
little extra time
Sure.
to have this conversation with Sarah.
Absolutely. So why don't we go out to the reception and we'll make a tentative appointment and go from there.
Okay.
Sounds good.
Okay,
Okay.
we can do it.
Great.